A Plattsburgh area sheriff sits in front of Congress members in Washington to tell them what it's like patrolling the northern border with the current immigration policy. 7 News reporter Zach Grady listens and learns how other local sheriffs share the concern.
Alongside other law enforcement officials, Clinton County Sheriff David Favreau let Congress know about conflicts in his area, specifically run-ins with migrant workers trying to cross illegally into the U.S.
Recent high-speed vehicle pursuits involving migrants have led to bodily injury and property damage, highlighting the pressing need for comprehensive national strategy to protect our community and law enforcement resources.
He calls it an everyday battle, saying deputies have interacted with individuals from more than 40 different countries.
The impact on our emergency management is evident. Our 911 call centers are experiencing increased calls for services with language barriers that are now in complicating responses and rescues.
Some of those rescues helping non-English speaking people survive after falling in 35-degree water. All of those complaints are echoed by other North Country sheriffs.
As the sheriff of Jefferson County, we have to remember that we've got, 1,857 square miles, and 589 of those are waterway. 32% of this county is waterfront, and I'm very concerned.
Lewis County Sheriff Mike Carpinelli has a different message for migrants than of concern. When asked about the border, he simply replied, quote, "Don't come to Lewis County." Sheriff Favreau says Clinton County is the only local county currently housing captured detainees. The sheriff says housing them is costing Clinton County $112 a day, some of which is being reimbursed by the federal government. Zach Grady, 7 News.